Hey there, welcome back, or welcome. This is session 3. We are playing Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition solo mode. I am your host, the Dungeon Master, and the player. Like I said, just me playing. And I am playing the Sunless Citadel, which is a adventure from the module book Tales from the Yawning Portal. In the first couple of sessions we met the player. His name is Dempsey, he's a ranger. Halfling Ranger is level 2. He's with his dog, Dexter. They made it to Oakhurst, and now they are in the Sunken Citadel. They're looking for a magical fruit that could possibly save the governor of Greenest. In addition to that, they are looking for a couple of missing kids, human kids. So, Dempsey fought his way through some rats, met Meepo, met Eustril, and now he just recently defeated 2 animated skeletons, and they kind of got away just barely. Dexter the dog was injured, so that is where we left off last. They're looking to make their way towards a couple of stolen guard members. Let's start. See you there.
Oh, are you alright there, Dex? Oh, God. Alright, hang in there, buddy. I'm gonna take this arrow out. Come on, you're alright. There we go, bud. Well, I'm gonna stop the bleeding here with some bandages. And here, Dex, I've got here some good berries I made. Some bits of rabbit and fruit. Here you go. Yeah, take 7 of these. Meepo, yeah, do you mind heading in there a little further? Let me know if you see any more of the skeletons. I'm almost done here.
Okay, Meepo here, check it out.
Alright, Dex. You're alright. Alright, buddy. Gather your bearings. You can hang out here for a sec. I'm gonna go see what Meepo's doing. Meepo, I'm coming in.
So Dempsey readies his bow. He knocks another arrow, and he enters the room. Dust and odd bits of stony debris and rubble lie scattered on the floor. An ornate fountain is built into the eastern wall. Though cracked and stained, the fountain's overarching carving of a diving dragon retains its beauty. A relief-carved stone door stands on the western wall. As far as you can tell, you do not see any skeletons standing. No silhouettes in the room, though there is quite a beautiful fountain on the right side of the room. That is not the first thing that your eyes are drawn to. Roll a perception check. 17 plus 1, 18. So the first thing you notice on the western wall is the body of a dwarf. A dwarf that is now slain. Looks like a cleric or a priest. There's a heavy one-handed mace on the ground next to the fallen dwarf, and a shield scattered across the room, maybe 10 feet from where the dwarf lays now. Meepo is checking out the corpse of the dwarf. If you were to look straight ahead, there'd be a pathway, a 10-foot wide wall opening, and that would be your exit through the room. To your right, there's the fountain, and to your left, that is where the fallen dwarven cleric lays.
Hey, Meepo, don't touch anything just yet, buddy.
You look back at Dexter, who's laying down, eating the food, the good berries you prepared. Shortly after Dexter eats the rest of those berries, he'll be back at full health. So you can deduct 7 good berries from your inventory, if that's how I'm doing it correctly. I'll have to reread the rules, but I thought you could just continue to pretty much just like healing. Anyway,
alright. Don't touch that, Meepo. I'm gonna take a look at him. You go look at the fountain.
Point to your right.
Fine. Look at the stupid fountain.
You see any more of the skeletons?
You say in your head as you scan the room. You make it over to the fallen dwarven cleric. He's got plate armor on. On the outside, he's got mail armor underneath the plate armor. He's still wearing his helmet, but you can see his big, bushy, red beard underneath the helmet. And his body is pressed up against a big wooden door, which is now almost completely smashed from the top end. There's probably like 4 feet of it still hanging underneath it. It's still on the hinges, at least from the bottom hinges, but on the top hinges, it is no longer standing. And inside there's a dark room. And if you look at the cleric. It doesn't take much inspection to realize that this dwarf was killed by a trap. As you trace up from the dwarf, who is impaled by a giant scythe, it looks as though it came from the ceiling up above.
Alrighty, Meepo. Looks like there's a trap here he triggered. Apparently he tried to get in this room without double checking traps, and he's impaled by this giant blade. I'm gonna peek into this room he's in here.
So half of his body's hanging into the next room. As you squint, you have a hard time seeing further than maybe 10-15 feet in there. You see what looks like some pillars on the right and pillars on the left of the room. It's like a 20 by 20 room. It's darkly lit as far as you can tell. There's no light in there except for the very end. There's a candle still burning.
Oh, geesh. Looks like there's still a candle here. Be very quiet. I'm gonna inspect this dwarf here maybe in a minute or so.
You look around the room for bones. You see another pile of bones, maybe 10 feet from where this cleric is. And then, just inside the room, you see another fallen humanoid. However, this one is a goblin. There's actually 2 dead goblin in the doorway. One 10 feet and one like 5 feet from the door. Make a nature check. Alright. I got 11 there. It looks like the goblins died later. Looks like the dwarf was impaled maybe a month ago, as far as you can tell. And then it looks like these 2 goblins that are dead maybe 3-4 days ago. It's hard to tell, but they are definitely later. It looks like this is not all from the same event. And you see some bones scattered about this room.
Alright, Meatball, I'm gonna light myself a torch here.
You pull out a torch out of your bag.
There we go. Just gonna be against my better judgment.
You toss the torch halfway across the room. It skitters across the stone, and it lights up the room. And what you see is 5 dusty sarcophagi, 3 to the north and 2 to the south, stand on end in the silent chamber. Each of the carved stone coffins resembles a noble elf-like humanoid in ceremonial robes. An altar with images of dragons carved into its black obsidian is set in the center of the west wall. A single candle burns brightly on the altar. Next to the candle are a small whistle and a crystal flask.
Hey, alright, Meepo, come over here for a minute.
Meeple makes his way over to you.
Resident.
Have you been in this room before? Are there any more traps?
I've never been in here before. Been in the room we're in now, but never this room. Like I said, there's a lot of traps here.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of traps. You don't... Alright.
Make a perception check. You're going to look for traps before you enter this room. So you rolled a 3. Plus 1, 4.
I don't see any traps here, and I threw my torch. What do you think, Meepo? I think I can enter in here and take a look. It looks like all those sarcophagi right there, all those tombs, are already opened. I'm thinking that the cleric got impaled by that scythe smashed through this door, and that alerted those skeletons, which I think were guarding this altar. And they came out and maybe they attacked the rest of the party. It's hard to tell. I don't know if this dwarf was alone. And then it looks like maybe later, a couple of goblins here came to inspect they were patrolling the hall, and they fell victim to those skeletons. Hence the reason there's some more skeleton bones here. 1, 2, okay. I count 4 skulls here, not including the dwarven skull impaled there. Do me a favor there, Meepo. Go take a look at that dwarf and see if he's carrying anything on him. And then when you're done with that, you can check out those goblins too. I count 4 sarcophagi and 4 skulls. Looks like they were possibly elves at one point. I wonder why this candle's up.
You make your way over the dwarf who's blocking the way. And you walk towards the altar. Make a stealth check. Alright. Looks like that's 18. I mean, you quietly move through this. You are a ranger. You have no problem moving silently. You are light on your feet. As Meepo digs through the bodies, you check out each sarcophagi, and each one is empty. All 5 of them are empty, which is a good thing or a bad thing. Looks like you're not going to be surprised in that room, but there are possibly 4, 5 skeletons roaming these halls. You killed 2, and you see a couple more pile of bones here and there. 2 more skulls, so most likely there's just 1 skeleton left. Maybe he's been slain elsewhere. But you make your way over to the altar.
Alright. Candle.
On the altar you see the candle, which is burning. It's giving off no heat, but it's burning. You also see this crystal whistle. It's got something written on it in Dwarvish, but you do not understand Dwarvish. And then next to the whistle, there is a flask. You pick up the flask, you swish around the liquid, it's red. And you put it in your pocket, you grab the whistle, you flip it around a few times, see that it's something in there is written in Dwarvish.
Right. Nice whistle. Interesting.
Just put that in your pocket, and you pick up the candle. And make a perception check on the top of the altar and for the candle. Natural 1.
Interesting.
So you don't find the rest of the goodies in the altar, but make a Arcana check on the candle. Okay, 13.
Alrighty. This looks like it's got some type of spell on it here, Meepo. It's not giving off any heat. Let me put this in my pocket. Actually, here.
You pick up your torch that's still burning on the ground. You snuff it out with your foot. You pocket that, and you hold the candle in your hand.
Alright, Meepo, what'd you find?
So Meepo's looking through all the stuff on the cleric. He's got a handful of goodies, and now he's fishing out the rest for the goblins.
I'm still looking.
Alright, very well, bud.
You climb over the cleric, and you make your way back into the room, and you look at the door where the dwarf was slain as you turn around. And above the door, there's something written in Draconic that you didn't notice right away because you were too focused on the dead dwarf. And it reads,
"Rebuke the dead, open the way."
As you say that out loud, not very loudly, but you did say it out loud, it was not in your head. The padlock, which is holding the door, at least what's left of it, in place, opens and falls to the ground. And the dwarf and the scythe continue to kind of slide through, along with the door, what's left of it. And it slides maybe like, I don't know, a foot or so more.
Whoa.
Huh. Where was that?
I just read what was on the wall here. It was in Draconic. Apparently the dwarf didn't speak Draconic. Well, I opened the door. Looks like that's all I had to do was just read it out loud. Looks like we're safe here. I'm gonna go check on Dex.
You walk back and Dex is walking through the doorway. He's now at your side. He's looking rather lively.
Hey, buddy.
You check his bandages really quick. Everything looks fine.
Check out this fountain here, buddy.
So you make your way over to the fountain, and a thin layer of scum coats the fountain, at least the fountain basin, but otherwise it's dry.
Interesting. Oh my.
Make a perception check here. Ooh, you got it. So you got 19. You needed a DC 15.
Something here. Looks like another saying.
As you wipe away some of the slime and dust off from the basin front.
Another thing in Draconic. This one's interesting. Alright, I'm gonna read it out loud again. Scooch back your Dex, I don't want you to get... It says, let there be fire.
Right as you say that, reddish liquid begins to well from the diving dragon's mouth, slowly accumulating in the basin. The dragon's eyes light up red. The liquid's collected and pools up, all the way up to the brim.
Wow. Jesus. Meepo, when you're done over there, check this out. Bring one of your vials.
Meepo exits the room shortly after. He's got, looks like gold coins, silver coins, copper pieces, gems, weaponry.
Alright. You got lots of stuff.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do, there, Meepo.
He kind of piles it at your feet.
Is this?
Yeah, from your bag, do you have one, like a glass vial of some sort?
And you pull out your vial that you took from the altar, and you compare the liquids. They don't look exactly alike, but, similar color, just slightly off, maybe in consistency.
Yeah, there we go, Meepo. Let me borrow one of those vials. An empty one, please.
As you open up one of his vials and you let out a couple centipedes as they kind of scurry across the floor.
Jesus.
And you dip it in the liquid and you seal it up with one of the corks.
Thank you, Meepo. Maybe you, Striel, will know what this is. Or do you know what this is?
I can look here.
So Meepo rolls an 11.
Yeah, give me some time. I might know what this is.
Very well, buddy. Alright, I think we spent enough time in this room. I think we're doing okay here. Let's continue on. Quietly again. You're doing good, Meepo. Continue to lead the way. Take us to your guard members.
Alrighty.
Oh, actually, wait. Here, let's go through all your goodies here.
So you start sifting through the pile of goods that Meepo gathered.
Alrighty, Meepo, let's see what you got here.
You pull out your flask with water, and you start taking a couple swigs before you pass it around to the group.
Alright, it looks like we got 22 copper pieces, 15 silver pieces, 7 gold pieces. Cool, thank you. We'll split these up, Meepo. Looks like we found a fish head and a dead toad. Alright, I should have been more specific. Rusty cutlass. That actually might be useful. Here's that mace from the old cleric. It's got good weight to it. Here's a silver ring. Ooh, I thought that was a silver piece. That's a silver ring.
You flip the ring around a few times and you notice there's a marking on the outside of the silver ring.
Huh. There's a half crescent and a harp inside of it. I believe this is the mark of a harper. Meepo, does it come from the dwarf there? Remember?
I don't remember if that was a dwarf or goblin.
I'm assuming, well, it might be from the dwarf. I'll hold on to this one. This one's actually a little interesting. I wonder if he was with the Harpers exploring this area. Either way, if I run into Harpers, we'll do our best to return this ring to them. Here's a pouch of tobacco. Here's a pipe.
Roll a perception check for the pipe here.
Alright, 15.
This is a puff of smoke monsters. While smoking this pipe, you can use an action to exhale a puff of smoke that takes the form of a single creature, such as a dragon, a flumph, or a froghemoth. The form must be small enough to fit in a 1-foot cube and loses its shape after a few seconds, becoming an ordinary puff of smoke.
This is a beautiful pipe. Well done, Meepo. Alright, here, let's gather all these things up. If you have room for some stuff, do so. I'll put some in mine.
After a minute goes on, you have everything all gathered up. And you return your flask of water back to your bag.
Alright, Meepo, shall we? I still trust your judgment. You've been doing a good job so far.
Alrighty, here we go.
So you reach a fork in the road. If you were to go straight, there's no doors, but it looks like the hallway stretches for a while. But Meepo takes you left, and he slowly opens the door, and you enter into another room. Much like the previous couple rooms you were in, it's just a square room with nothing going on, basically. The empty chamber is home only to rat droppings, crumbled flagstone, and stains. Make an investigation check or a survival check. Alrighty. 15. So you're able to see more rat tracks and tracks of humanoids. You're thinking this might be the very tracks of those kids you're looking for. But definitely rats and definitely humanoids.
Alright, Meepo. Looks like we're in the right area.
Meepo turns and faces the other door in the room, the one you did not enter through, and he approaches the door. Make a perception check with disadvantage because you are kind of far away. Alrighty, so you got 4, so you don't notice anything. We'll do 1 for Meepo, just because it might be the most fair way to do it. Meepo will have 1 crack at it. He is the leader here, for the most part. He is your guide, and he's been in this area before, so I'm going to have him roll. You got a natural 20. Interesting. Meepo points at the door, on the top of the door frame. Now that you are at the door, you realize it looks like it's been tampered with.
Alrighty, there are definitely goblins behind this wall. And there's an alert system. A little bell will ring if we open this too fast. So we have to be quiet.
Alright. Ready when you are there, Meepo.
So Meepo opens the door and make a roll for open it quietly. Alright. 12 plus the whatever. Okay. So you're able to quietly open the door. Now you can kind of hear the chatter of a couple goblins. And as you stare all the way down the hall, you see the heads of 2 goblins. And they are talking with each other, it looks like. The 10-foot wide hall is liberally strewn with sharp caltrops. On the northern wall, passage to the room beyond is partially blocked by a roughly mortared 3-foot-high wall, complete with crenellations. So you're looking down kind of a long, narrow hallway, and on the ground are a bunch of sharp caltrops. Look like, almost like steel spikes, and like ball shape almost, just a series of little spikes here that make it difficult for you to just kind of run through without getting tripped up and hurting yourself. And as of now, the 2 goblins that are talking do not know that you are there. Your arrow's already knocked. You look down this hallway and you see the 2 goblins. They don't notice you, but you know that'll change here in a moment. The goblins are like a tan, olive colored skin. They are, from as far as you can tell, you can only see really up from the shoulders up. They appear to be shirtless, and they have long, black, greasy hair tied in the back. Looks like they're using some type of bone, some decorative pieces of bones in their hair. One of them has some piercings in his ears. Both of them seem to be holding weapons. Looks like one's holding a short bow and the other's holding a crossbow. There are different arrows and bolts kind of on the little ledge besides them. And with that, I've already rolled initiative, but you get to go first because they do not notice you. And you rolled first anyway. You rolled the highest. So it'll go Dempsey, Meepo, and then the goblins will know you're there. Alrighty. You're not even going to say anything to Meepo because you don't want to risk giving it away. But you're going to attempt to hit one of the goblins. And they each get a +2 to their AC because they are partially blocked. They're partially under cover. Actually, I'm going to use Hunter's Mark with my spell. Alright, Hunter's Mark is you choose a creature you can see within range and mystically mark it as your quarry. Until the spell ends, you deal an extra 1d6 of damage to the target whenever you hit it. And then you can continue to move that from target to target. You really are kind of nervous. You only have 1 shot before these things probably take off. Oh, nice. So you got a 18 plus 7. You got a 25, so that'll hit. Let's see what these goblins have for their AC. They have 15 plus 2, so each of them have an AC of 17. Alright, so they'll roll for damage. So 9, that's at the 6, 2, so you rolled an 11. So, draw back to your mouth. The bow string is brought right to the edge of your mouth, and it flies. Whack! Right into the head of the goblin with the piercings. Then he slumps over the 3-foot ledge. He's leaning down towards you now. The other goblin shrieks and turns and faces you, and as that moment, Meepo takes his turn. So Meepo is going to use his ranged weapon, his sling. So he has a +4 to hit. Loads of rock up in his sling. He is way off. He's off by like 12 feet. The rock just bounces off both the walls and doesn't even make it over the ledge. Oh no. And with that, the goblin takes his turn. His crossbow is already loaded and ready, and he fires at Dempsey, which will hit 18 plus 4, 22. So he's going to do a 1d6 plus 2. There we go. Got a d6. 3 plus. Alright, so 5. So, the goblin slams his crossbow on top of the ledge he was using and comes screaming across the hall and boom, right into the leather chest piece of Dempsey, and just the bolt stuck in there. And the goblin is going to use the rest of his movement and he is going to run. He's going to run. He's got 30 feet to run. So he's running, and he's yelling something in Goblin. And you turn to face Meepo, and you face Dex. Well, that ain't good. All right, Meepo, let's go get him. And so you make your way through the caltrops in fear that you are running into a trap or an ambush, but you really have no other option. You don't want to have that goblin alert 50-some goblin and then having to fight an entire tribe here in moments. So you, Meepo, and Dex attempt to make your way through the caltrops. So you, Meepo, and your dog make your way through the caltrops, and you are going to make your way with half movement speed in order to avoid taking damage. A creature moving through the area at half speed doesn't need to make the saving throw. So it is going to take you and the group 2 turns total. And you hear the yells of the goblin as you slowly make your way through the caltrops, and you reach that mortared wall where the dead goblin lay. You pluck your arrow out from the head of the goblin you just slain. You help your dog over the 3-foot wall. Meepo climbs over it. Not very gracefully, but Meepo kind of goes head first and falls off of it, almost sliding down and splats on his butt. But, alright. Meepo's on the other edge, your dog's on their edge, and then you climb over the 3-foot ledge, which is as tall as you are. Just make a roll here. Alright, so with the help of Meepo, he kind of grabs your hand and you're able to... So you're now on the other side of the wall where those 2 goblins were discussing something. And as you look around, there's a fireplace, there's some pelts on the ground. This looks like a small little living quarters almost. There's a guard post. The filth on the floor, stains on the walls, shabby hides, and fire pit attest to the years of use this room has seen at the hands of creatures unconcerned with hygiene. On the eastern side of the southern wall is a crudely mortared half-wall, which you just climbed, complete with crenellations. So there's a door that's open immediately to your left when you jump over this wall, which you're now at, and that is where that goblin went running down. Now you hear the noise and clanging of weapons and the yells, which kind of echo throughout this stone-covered room. Alright. You knock another arrow, your dog starts to growl. Meepo prepares his sling, and you move your way through this narrow little hallway. As you reach the end of the hall, which only takes a moment, you still hear the yells, which are actually now starting to grow quiet. And as you walk up on the room, you have some cover here. You have some cover to your right as you kind of face this opening of the room. Dozens of blunted and broken arrows lie on the cracked cobblestone floor, and a few protrude from 3 crudely sewn, human-sized targets hung the center of the south wall. The northern third of the room is separated from the south by a crudely mortared and crenellated half-wall, so another half-wall. A permanent camp of sorts lie north of the wall, complete with a fire ring and several small iron cookpots. And behind that little wall, as you kind of duck your head through, and it looks like they haven't quite seen you just yet, behind that half-wall is the 1 goblin that ran away, accompanied with 3 other goblin. So there's 4 goblin behind this wall, and they are bracing themselves for the inevitable combat. You duck your head back. So make a roll to see if they saw you. Alright, so they didn't see you. You got a 15. Because they're just too busy. They're too amped up on unloading their weapons and getting ready to shoot. The first thing they see, they're almost kind of staring too closely at the practice targets, because that's probably where they imagine they're going to see you first. They didn't expect you to have your head so close to the wall. Alright, Meepo. There's four goblins. Dex, you're going to have to kind of hang back here. You're going to be an easy target. What do you say here? Meepo, I'm going to make a crack at it. What about all your inventions here? Do you think there's something you can throw over that ledge? Alright, so we're going to go back to the top of the round, which is Dempsey's turn. He's going to use Hunter's Mark. He's going to jump off from the wall, and he's going to aim at the goblin that ran away, it looks like, as far as you can tell. There's 1 goblin that took off, and he thinks he's got him locked on his sight. So, you use your longbow, which is a 13, and they all have that +2. So he's going to miss He's gonna cling. I can't. And he jumps back from the wall, uses the rest of his movement, and returns fire. And he's not sure if it hit. It's hard to tell. That being said, Meepo turns the corner. He does the same thing. This time he throws a pot or a vial, glass little vial of acid. And he aims in the middle of the pack, and he picks out one goblin, and he chucks out a vial. So it's going to be +4 to hit. Ooh, it would have hit. It's a 12 plus 4 is a 16, but those goblins with the partial cover have 17. Boom, hits the wall, the little 3-foot ledge they're covered behind, and the acid scatters across the room, but doesn't make contact. Not enough to injure anyone. And he returns. So now it is Goblin 2's turn, which is the goblin that ran away. So Goblin number 2 is going to jump off the ledge. And he is making his way. He's feeling rather brave now that he's with the group. And he's going to attempt to shoot. So he can see just a little piece of Dempsey here. He's too afraid to run much further. And that is a 19, so he will hit. 1d6. 2, 3, 4. So 4. So -4 to Dempsey. So he draws his bow back and whack. Hits Dempsey again with the arrow. This one gets stuck in his arm. And the goblin attempts to run back, but he's not going to quite make it all the way back. And that will bring us to Goblin number 3's turn, who is going to jump the ledge. And he's going to keep his crossbow ready. And same with Goblin number 4. He's going to jump the ledge. And Goblin number 5's turn now. Goblin number 5 is going to make his way down. He's going to attempt to take a crack at Meepo. He's going to do the same thing that the goblin that attacked did. He's going to run to the wall. He's got his weapon ready, and he lets a rip towards little Meepo. And that'll miss. He shoots his crossbow bolt, cracks in the wall, and he runs back towards the wall. So now there is just one goblin that is covered by the wall. The rest, 3 other ones, are kind of right in front of the wall, and they're readying themselves for an attack. Alright, so this brings us to the back of the top of the round. Dempsey is going to pull out a potion of healing, the only one he has, and he's going to drink it. So he pulls the cork out, drinks the red liquid, and it is 2d4 plus 2, 6, 8. Alright, so Dempsey already had some damage prior to going into this, so this will help. 8 points. Alright, so he's about 70% health now. That will take his turn. Now it is Meepo's turn. So Meepo is going to run off the edge again, and he's going to attempt to use his sling, and he's going to let it rip with his sling here. Attempt to hit it. Oh, natural 20 plus 4. We needed that. So he's going to make a crack at Goblin number 2, which is the one that initially ran and alerted everyone. So let's see what the damage is for that. Sling is 1d4 plus 2. So I'm going to roll the d4 twice. 4, 4 and 1. 5 plus 2, 7. So that is just enough. Meepo saving the day. So Meepo runs around the corner, loads his sling up, and he lets a rip with all his might, and that little rock goes flying across the room and clunks right in the temple, hits the goblin. He screams and shouts, and he disappears. He falls on the ground. Slump. And his bow lands on top of him, and the arrow rolls off the string. Meepo jumps back. I got one. Wait, way to go, Meepo. Alright, Dex, it's up to you if you want to. Dex takes off like a rocket, and he turns the corner, sliding. He makes a diving leap towards Goblin number 3, who is not over the ledge. He attempts to bite him. So that'll be it. 18, natural 18, 21 to hit. So 1d6 plus 1 bites. So 3, 4. Dex the Mastiff jumps, leaps, right in the midsection of Goblin number 3 and takes away more than half his health. And there Dex, the dog, will wait. He has no movement left. And that will take us to Goblin number 2, who's dead. So Goblin number 3, who's currently being attacked by Dexter the dog, is going to pull out his scimitar, and he's going to make a swing at the dog, which will hit. So roll an attack, 1d6 plus 2. So 4. Wow. So the dog takes 4 damage as the blade swings down. And he nails the dog. That will take us to the next goblin, who's right alongside the goblin that's being attacked. And he's going to do the same thing. So goblin number 4 is going to swing down towards the dog. Just was what we were afraid of. Alright, so that will miss. Actually, will it? 9 plus 4 is 13. What does the dog have? Nope, that will hit. So roll a d6. 2, 4. So whack. The dog takes 4 more points of damage. So the dog's looking rather weak here, which is kind of what we were thinking. The dog doesn't normally have much health to begin with, and that's why we gave it more. So 12 points of health total is not a lot. And that takes us to Goblin number 5, who is behind the wall, and he makes a shot towards the wall where Meepo and Dexter are hiding. And it's just more of an intimidation shot. There's no real angle there. He shoots his bow or his crossbow, and it clanks off the wall and skittering down the hall. Just enough to kind of give some suppressive fire. And that will take us back to the top of the round. Alright, Dempsey's going to jump out from his cover. He's going to use his Hunter's Mark, and he's going to let her rip at Goblin number 3, who was already weak.
Hang in there, Dex.
Roll a 12. Plus a what? 19, that will hit. Roll a d8 plus 3. 5 points plus that's enough to do it. So the long bow and the arrow coming from the bow goes screaming across the hall once more and nails Goblin number 3 right in the throat. And he slumps over the dog, who's biting at his midsection and is now laying on the ground getting torn to pieces by the dog. And Dempsey's going to use the rest of his movement. He's going to make it to melee range with Goblin number 4 in hopes that he will become the target. And that will take us to Meepo. Meepo's going to take a crack with his sling, and he's going to attempt to hit Goblin number 4, who is not covered. And he has advantage because he has friends within range. So 15, that already hits. 19, yeah, easy. Whack. He lets his sling go, and that is definitely a hit. Let's see what the damage is here. It's d4 plus 2, bludgeoning damage. 1, so 3. Whack. He hits Goblin number 4, who now has 3 points of damage. And he hits him right in the neck. Boom. And the Goblin number 4 kind of sidesteps a little bit. He's all of a sudden feeling the pressure. And that will take us to Dex. And Dex will make a quick pivot and attempt to attack Goblin number 4, who's already taken some points of damage here. And he will miss. He'll start grabbing onto the boots of the goblin, but is unable to do any damage. He's tugging at him. And that will take us to Goblin number 4, who's right now being surrounded. It's an attempt to hit Dempsey. And as a natural 2, let's see what kind of extra little abilities they have. They have Nimble Escape, but they don't have anything else. So, that is good. He is going to use Nimble Escape, which is the disengage. And he's going to disengage from the dog, and he's going to attempt to jump over that ledge. However, okay, so it doesn't provoke opportunity attack. So he does disengage, and he jumps over the ledge, and he is now out of melee range. And that will take us to Goblin number 5. So, jumps over the ledge. And Goblin number 5 grabs his crossbow, and he attempts to shoot at Dempsey from just point blank, basically 10 feet out. He attempts to hit him with his bow, and he will miss with 5. He's just too close. There's just so much going on, as his partner is climbing over the ledge, kind of gets nudged with one of the feet and kind of moves the bow just up slightly, and it goes over Dempsey's head and smashes and disintegrates into the wall. And you think they'd be better. They've got a practice range here. They're basically living on a practice range, yet they cannot seem to hit anything. So that'll take us back to Dempsey, who slides over Hunter's mark and attempts to hit Goblin number 4. Here we go, baby. Natural 20. So yes, that'll hit. And I'd be very surprised if this doesn't kill. He's only got 4 points of health left. So, 18 points. It's the 6. Alright. So yeah, that's 22 points of damage after all is said and done. So yes, that's great. So he loads up his bow and just 10 feet out, right on the money, right through the forehead, and it goes right into the skull and out the back, and just splatters blood all across the room they're in, as that goblin falls behind the wall and disappears completely. And that will take us to Meepo, an attempt to hit once more with a sling. Does not have advantage this time because his partners are not within range. Natural 1. Yeah, that sling, the rock has absolutely no business. It is nowhere near close. Just hits the wall. Actually hits the ground like 10 feet in front of him and bounces around. Ugh, dangled. And Meepo runs forward to the group. Doesn't want to be left behind. So he's right in the middle. And that'll take us to Dex. He's going to jump over the ledge, which will take up half his movement. And he's going to attempt to bite. Number 5. And he will miss. He spent all his effort. He's an old dog, spent all of his energy jumping over the ledge and is unable to get a hold of the goblin. So that will take us back to Goblin number 5, who is going to attempt to run out the back door. So there are 2 doors in this room that he is in, or this ledge area that he's in. There is one to the left and one to the right. And he is going to run to the one that is facing west. So he opens up the door and starts running. So he's now halfway inside that door. And that will take us to the top of the round again. So you jump over the ledge. You make it another 5 feet or so, and you're in the doorway where the goblin is sprinting through. And it looks like it's just a storage room of some sorts. Got crates on the left and crates on the right, and he's making a beeline right towards the other exit. And you attempt to hit him with your bow. So that will hit. It is a 19, so 12 plus 7, 19. And you've got your hunter's mark, so that's 4 points of damage. And then we'll add the plus 6 here, which is a 6. Easily done. So, whack. Right through the back. And the goblin topples over, does a somersault over his head over heels and rolls on the ground. And there he lays dead. And that will end combat. 5 goblins slain. Good work. So there, the dead goblin lays in this empty storage room, a goblin pantry. The north and south walls of this chamber are stacked halfway to the ceiling, with ill-made barrels, boxes, and crates. A clearer path allows easy access between the west and east doors. So a quick glance, you can tell it's just crates and boxes of water, wine, and food. Judging by the smell and just kind of everything's thrown in there. Doesn't look like it's of high quality. But you're not super focused on that. You just want to make sure that the coast is clear. So it does not look like he rang any bells in here. So you return to your group. You see Dexter on your side of the wall. He's nuzzling one of the dead goblin. And you look past the little 3-foot ledge and you see Meepo, who's fiddling with a door. So you were previously... the room that Meepo's in right now is the practice range. And in the practice range, there's another doorway leading west, which is just south of where you are. So you're looking at Meepo, and he's attempting to get into another door.
Hey, Meepo. 1 second. Don't open that just yet.
And you jump the ledge, and you make your way. And there you hear... Make a perception check. Alright, so you hear some commotion going on inside.
This is where they are. This is where the guard members are. We gotta open this door. It's locked.
He's starting to get kind of upset and mad. He's not doing this very carefully at all.
All right. 1 minute, Meepo. Let me just listen here a little closer. Dex.
Dex hops the wall and makes his way to you.
What do you hear inside that boy?
And he attempts to make a listen here with advantage. So, 12. He starts nuzzling the door. He definitely hears something in there, but he would have no way of telling you kind of what is in there. And you listen as well, and you can definitely hear, looks like some yelps. You don't hear any goblin, but you definitely hear something. You're not quite sure. And if Meepo's saying that his guard members are in there, he seems to know this area pretty well. He's really able to detect some of the traps, so you trust him.
All right, there, Meepo. Let's try to get this door open here. I don't have any tools with me. Hang tight here, Meepo. Let's think about this the right way.
You look around the room, the practice range, and you grab a spear, which is on the ground.
All right, Meepo, I'm going to try to open this with a spear, maybe.
So you wedge the spear right in the door frame, right underneath the lock, a couple inches below the lock where the deadbolt would be.
All right, Meepo, I need your help here. Let's just try to force this thing. Maybe we can pry it open.
Meepo grabs a hold, and you grab it too. So roll a strength check with advantage.
10. 17.
I think you have a -1. Let's see what your strength is. You are just one short. You have +2. You're 19. You needed a 20 to open it. So the lock is starting to wiggle and vibrate and shake, and you can see there's a gap between the door and the lock. And like a minute goes on, and you just can't quite seem to get past it. But you're causing some damage. There's definitely some loosening and some gap work between the door, and just enough so you'll have advantage on your next attempt if you were to try to open it another way.
Can't quite seem to get it. I really don't want to set it on fire.
In there you start to hear more voices, and they're starting to mumble.
Hey, 1 minute, Meepo, I'm going to check these goblins. They might have keys. You're welcome to keep trying.
So you start scurrying around, and you check you run back to the original goblin that you shot in the head, and you start looking through all these goblins. You have 5 corpses to look through. So I'll say it takes you about 10 minutes or so to look, and just roll an investigation. 16 plus 1, 17. So that is enough. 10 minutes goes by, and on the 5th goblin that you check, you do find a ring of keys.
Oh, I got him. Right here, Meepo. There's a handful of keys right here.
So you start thumbing through the keys, and you try 1, nope, 2, nope, 3, nope, and so on, and you get to the last key.
Got it.
And you let Meepo open the door, and he doesn't open this one very stealthily. He just kind of swings it open. And what you see is squalor reigns in this low ceiling room. A large iron spike is driven into the floor near the door, and a small iron cage is set farther back. Several sets of corroded manacles are connected to the walls, and some still bind a few crumbling skeletons. You see 3 kobolds, all chained to the walls. And in that cage, you see a humanoid. That humanoid makes eye contact with you and says something. But he doesn't say just anything. He's looking right at you, Dempsey, and he says your name. He says, "Is that you, Dempsey?" And with that, we will end session 3. Good session, everyone. We had a decent amount of combat that time. We got some good work in, got some loot. Eventually got the keys, got this room open, and we are halfway done with those couple of tasks that Yusriel gave us. So I think overall it was a pretty good session. And we'll pick up session 4 next time. Alright, adios.